Hey, what's up, family? Yo, it's Dr. Jeff Menzie coming at y'all one more again. So today we're going to deal with the topic of communication. It's a spinoff from the post that I made yesterday dealing with relationship and giving advice to our children and how folks get vexed over some things. Anyway, communication is a very broad, deep, and interesting topic. So at its core, communication is the conveying of information from one point to another, from one thing to another thing. Animals communicate, insects communicate, people communicate, brain cells communicate, other systems of the body communicate. Like, for example, animals, they use pheromones to, mark their territory, send messages. Insects like bees, they do certain dances that communicates where they found flowers that have good nectar in it to produce honey. It's all type of ants that communicate by leaving scent trails. It's really amazing, this concept of communication. Your neurons in your brain, they communicate through electrochemical impulses. There's just a lot to communication. We're going to keep it on a fundamental human level, though, for this presentation. So when you look at communicating between human beings, we're talking about body language. We're talking about the words that are used. We're talking about the tone in which the words are expressed. We're talking about facial expression. We're talking about scent, because it does happen with us as well, our pheromones, our hormones. We're talking all these different things that deal with communication. So yesterday, I took a late lunch after a meeting I had, and I was sitting eating, and I felt some energy. And when I looked over, to my surprise, it was this little bitty girl. She's about 5 or 6 years old, had big old pretty eyes, had 2 afro puffs part down the middle. I was like, oh, so I looked over, and I instinctively smiled. I just smiled at her. And so she smiled back like really quickly. I was like, oh, that's cute. And then I realized that she had been watching me, and she's observing. And as she was observing me, I was actually reading an article on my cell phone. And so in that moment when I realized she was watching me, I said, dang, okay, get a book out. Because in my mind, I'm thinking she probably sees people on their phones all day, every day. It's an assumption, of course. And I said, so let me show her a brother reading a book. So I went into my bag that just happened to be on the stool next to me, and I took out a book, and I started reading the book. And I didn't look back over to see if she was still watching me or not. But I understood that in that moment, I was communicating with her. She was observing my behavior, and I wanted to show her something. I wanted to communicate a very specific message that, yeah, I'm in here and I'm reading. This is a black man you see, and he's in here reading the book, not just looking at his smartphone. And so when we think about that, being conscientious, being aware of what's going on around you, and being aware of what message you're sending as you're sending the message, because you are sending a message every minute of every day, sending messages. Cell phones. Let's get to the point. So I was asked yesterday by one of my brilliant grad students working on a PhD in clinical psychology about why is it that brothers communicate, and specifically in this case, an apology via text message as opposed to a phone call, as opposed to a face-to-face communication, especially when they're in proximity, meaning when they're close to you. When you start looking at how cell phones and other smart technology has intervened, it's literally dumbing us down. And it ain't a shameless plug at all. But if you look at my book, Dumbing Down, on page 149, I talk about how text messaging and smart technology literally comes in and starts to take the place of our once utilized social skills. For example, we started to push buttons. We get better at typing with our thumbs than we are speaking to another individual face to face. In this case, I don't have a lot of information about what's actually taking place, but sometimes a text message can serve as a buffer, especially in the case of an apology. So it may be just the fact that he feels embarrassed, might feel shame, might just feel uneasy about whatever it is that they're apologizing for. And it's just easier to send the message. It's been communicated, it's been conveyed. And, if the person is sincere, you can trust that it's a sincere apology. In the case that basically is convenient, it could be convenient. A lot of us do things out of convenience. Sometimes it's easier to just send a text message and keep doing what you're doing, as opposed to stopping what you're doing to have a full-blown verbal conversation. That takes more time. You have to be less distracted when you're doing that. Text message, 5 seconds, sorry, done, keep on moving. Phone call, hey, how you doing? Conversation, blah, 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 blase skip, my bad, what you sorry for? It's a big conversation. So sometimes it's just a matter of convenience. Person ain't got a lot of time in that moment, but wanted to make sure they express themselves. But the point is that we got to sit these phones down a little bit, y'all. We got to have these conversations, but it means that on both ends, it has to be the case. I can't be willing to have a phone conversation with you. I can't be willing to call you and you're not answering your phone, but you'll text me back. Then that leads us right back to the text messaging. You can't be willing to call me and I'm texting you back instead of picking up my phone and have the conversation. It happens on both ends. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, think about it. What messages are you sending? How are you communicating? Are you comfortable with verbally talking to people anymore? Have you ever seen 4 people in a car, each one of them on their phone? You know, I ride the train sometimes. I see people on the train, everybody, just like this. I promise y'all, chiropractors are going to have a field day in about 5 years because everybody's going to have this little hunch in their neck because they're looking down at their smart devices all the time. And much like reality TV, I see the word smart as a compensatory word, meaning it's compensating for something, meaning it's really disguising a technology that can make you dumb. It's designed to do things for you that you used to do for you. For example, remembering phone numbers. Think about it. I bet most of y'all can remember phone numbers from when you were younger. I still remember some of my childhood friends' phone numbers by heart to this day. Ask me about somebody's number I got a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I don't remember. I haven't memorized it. No need to memorize it. But we used to memorize numbers. Not anymore. They're all in your phone. You lose your phone, you lose your contact list, you lose your mind. This is what's happening right now. Brothers, sisters, stop using that as a crutch. Stop hiding behind your technology. Begin to embrace each other again. Human contact is very important. Verbal communication is very important. Written communication is as well, but it's getting in the way right now. We're not conveying our messages clearly. What did Big Boy say in Hollywood Divorce? He said, M&Ms with no nuts, hiding behind the screen names. That's what happens. People get to typing off at their thumbs. They get all kind of courage. They get all the act right juice in them and talk all kind of crazy or talk all kind of game. But when it comes time to showing up, they don't show up. It's the same in our relationships. Let's straighten this out. Communicate, converse, or conversate, depending on where you're from, and let's get it done. Put the phones down. Talk, listen, communicate. Dr. Jeff Menzie, a 60-second life coach. Get at me, y'all. Look forward to hearing from you. Peace.